Good day everyone. This is the report of PD 1067. PD 1067, a decree instituting a water code, thereby revising and consolidating the laws governing the ownership, appropriation, utilization, exploitation, development, conservation, and protection of water resources. Nakilala rin ito the Water Code of the Philippines. Policies and mandates of PD 1067. Declaration of objectives and principles. Article 1. This code shall be known as the Water Code of the Philippines. Article 2. The objectives of the code are A. To establish the basic principles and framework relating to the appropriation, control, and conservation of water resources to achieve the optimum development and rational utilization of these resources. B. To define the extent of the rights and obligation of water users and owners, including the protection and regulation of such rights, to adopt a basic law governing the ownership, appropriation, utilization, exploitation, development, conservation, and protection of water resources and rights to land related. D. To identify the administrative agencies which will enforce this code. Article 3. The underlying principles of these codes are: all waters belong to the state. B. All waters that belong to the state cannot be subject to acquisitive prescription. C. The state may allow to use or development of waters by administrative concession. D. The utilization, exploitation, development, conservation, and protection of water resources shall be subject to the control and regulation of the government through the National Water Resources Council, hereinafter referred to as a council. E. Preference in the use of development of waters shall consider current usages and be responsive to the changing needs of the country. Article 4. Water use is this code refers to water under the ground, water above the ground, water in the atmosphere, and the waters of the sea within the territorial jurisdiction of the Philippines. The next reporter is Jefferson Magpatok.
Ownership of waters. Article 5. The following belong to the state. A. Rivers and their natural beds. B. Continuous or intermittent waters of spring and brooks running in their natural beds and the bed themselves. C. Natural lakes and lagoons. D. All other categories of surface water such as water flowing over lands, water from rainfall, whether natural or artificial, and water from agricultural runoff, seepage, and drainage. E. Atmospheric water. F. Subterranean or groundwaters and GC water.
D.
Article 6. The following waters found on private lands also belong to the state. Continuous or intermittent water rising on such land. Lakes and lagoons and naturally occurring on such lands. C. Rain and water falling on such lands. And D. Subterranean or groundwater. And E. Water in swamps and marshes. The owner of the land where the water is found may use the same for domestic purposes without securing a permit, provided that such use should be registered when required by the council. The council, however, may regulate such use when there is wastage or in times of emergency. Article 7. Subject to the provisions of this code, any person who captures or collects water by means of systems, tanks, or pools shall have exclusive control over such water and the right to dispose of the same. Article 8. Water legally appropriate should be subject to the control of the appropriator from the moment it reaches the appropriator's canal or aqueduct leading to the place where the water will be used or stored thereafter, so long as it's being beneficially used for the purpose for which it was appropriated. The next reporter will be Renato Pensalida and Ernie Salino. They will report the definition of and terms in PD 1067.
Based dito sa unang paragraph, In the water code, we need to properly follow the rules in terms of owning and governing of water sources, which is define the law itself that we are very suffocated to ensure the preservation of water sources and protection of sea animals. That's all. Ernie, pasok.
Hello, hello. Next slide. This is Presidential Decree number 1067, otherwise known as the Water Code of the Philippines. The code covers underground water, water above the ground, water in the atmosphere, and the waters of the sea within the territorial jurisdiction of the Philippines. Ito ang Presidential Decree 1067 o mas kilala bilang Water Code of the Pilipinas. Sinasaklaw ng kodigo ang tubig sa ilalim ng lupa, tubig sa ibabaw ng lupa, tubig sa atmosfera at tubig sa dagat sa loob ng teritoryo na jurisdiction ng Pilipinas. Next.
The next is the violation and punishment under the PD 1067. The following act should be penalized by suspension of recreation of the violators, water's permit, or other right to use of the water, and or fine of not exceeding 1,000 pesos in the designation of the council. A. Appropriation of subterranean or groundwater for domestic use by an overlying landowner without registration required by the council. Letter B. Non-observance of any standard of beneficial use of water. Letter C. Failure of the appropriator to keep a record of water withdrawal when required. Letter D. Failure to comply with any of the terms or condition in a water permit or a water right grants. Letter E. Unauthorized use of water for a purpose other than that for which a right or permit was granted. Letter F. Construction of repair of any hydraulic work or structure without duly approved plans and specification when required. Letter G. Failure to install a regulating and measuring device for the control of the volume of water appropriated when required. Next slide, please. Letter H. Unauthorized sale, lease, or transfer of water and or water right. Letter I. Failure to provide adequate facilities to prevent or control diseases when required by the Council in the construction of any work for the storage, diversion, distribution, and utilization of water. Letter J. Drilling of a well without permission of the Council. Letter K. Utilization of an existing well or ponding or spreading of water for recharging subterranean or groundwater supplies without permission of the council. Letter I. Violation of or non-compliance with any order, rules, or regulation of the council. Letter M. Illegal taking or diversion of water in an open canal, aqueduct, or reservoir. Letter N. Malicious destruction of hydraulic works or structure valued at not exceeding 5,000 pesos. The next reporter is Ma'am Balauro.
Yun. A fine a non exceeding 3,000 pesos or imprisonment for for not more than 3